theyeshiva.net.
So we discovered here in this Maamar in Torah of the Balatanya, Chayav Einish, Lebesumi, this fascinating idea that Torah could be understood in layers. It's like, there's the 7-layer cake, and here's the 3,000 layered cake. But in the layer cake, of course, there's no great difference in quality between the higher layer and the lower layer. But the point is there are many, many layers. The onion has many layers, and you peel one layer and you get to the other layer. And each layer is a mashal lagabe the layer above it, which is a mashal lagabe the layer above it, which is a mashal lagabe the layer above it. So that means that, say, a person is learning Mishnayos, Gemara, Halacha, and they understand it, and that's Torah. And yet on another level, it's really only a mashal. It's really a metaphor. It's really a parable, an allegory for a concept. And that concept has to be extracted from the mashal. The mashal is just the prelude, it's the package.
Also them learning that is also a mashal for something else, right?
Yeah. And every concept is true in every halacha, every concept, every mitzvah, every pasuk, every mishnah, every gemara, and so forth. So you speak about Pshat, Remez, Drush, Sod, and in each one there's literally endless layers of interpretation, and each one is true, each one is legitimate, each one is Torah. So it's really, sometimes a person could their whole life just hear a mashal, they never get to the nimshal. All they have is just the mashal. They know the mashal very well, they're medayik in the mashal, and they dissect the mashal. And yes, it's extremely significant because here even the mashal is holy. It's not like a mashal, in a speech. You're giving a mashal, you just want people to get the message. Here the mashal itself is part of the message. But on another level, it's only a mashal. And it's there to bring you to the nimshal. And that's how Torah works. And yes, you could spend your whole life only on the first layer, only on that mashal, not even see that there is a nimshal. And so Shlomo HaMelech can articulate this on 3,000 levels of understanding. And he says, and ultimately, they're all rooted in what's called Chachma Ilah, Hashem's supernal wisdom. And that's a mashal HaKadmoini. That's a mashal for Kadmoini, which is God himself, Kadmoiner Shalolam, who even transcends intellect, who transcends Chachma. And this is the explanation, tremendous explanation. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin that Kol mi sheyachal lasek b'Torah ve'enei osek alav nema kedvar Hashem baza hikaris tekaris. And he said, how can this be? One person is yotze saying Kriya Shema in the morning. For him, it's enough Talmud Torah for the day. One perik in the morning, if he can't anything else, either because of his skill or his knowledge or his busyness, whatever it is, the type of work he has to support, and he has an obligation to support his family. That's an obligation in Torah. So I can't resist. Somebody told me a very cynical joke. He said that in a certain community they want to be matir polygamy. You should be able to marry again 2 wives because one is not enough to support the family. So
who can live on one income?
Can't live on one income. Yeah.
What is the relation of Torah?
So that's he said. So he said, and here a Jew is learning, and he has a few moments he could learn Einei Osek, and it's like whoa. What, like this inyan of Bittul Torah. He says the Gemara says, Ashrei Misha Balakan v'Talmudei biyada. The Gemara says, fortunate is a person who comes to Talmudei biyada. Why? There's no, you can't get the nimshal without the mashal. And if you get 50% of the mashal, you won't get part of the nimshal. And if you get 90% of the mashal, you won't get part of the nimshal. And if you get 99% of the mashal, there's still something of the nimshal that you can't get. In other words, every nekuda of the mashal is what allows you to experience the nimshal. So he says, a neshama that b'hashgacha can't learn more than 1 chapter in the morning, more chapter in the evening, the nimshal that they have to achieve, they will achieve through this mashal, through this Torah. But the neshama that has the time to learn, the nimshal that their soul is craving and is connected to, they need every moment that God gave them, because without that mashal, they'll never be able to experience that nimshal. And what's going to happen? Hikaris tikaris. Part of their soul gets cut off from that nourishment, from those vitamins, from that nutrition, from that relationship with Hashem that they could only experience through the mashal in its entirety. so that's how he explains the Gemara. We see chorus to chorus. What we hear is, the
Wrath of God.
Huh?
The wrath of God.
The wrath, pathological vengeance. It's like 1 second you walk out to buy a can of Coke, you walk out of a Smedrish to buy a can of, you just know your soul is going to get cut off. You remember those days, huh? You say you didn't come back to hear this, huh? You didn't come back 30 years later to hear this. But really, what the Balatanya is saying is such a beautiful idea. In other words, Hikaris to Karis is the lost opportunity of every nekuda, every moment is giving you another part of the mashal, which will help you get the nimshal that you can only get through the mashal. It would be like in a very well-built speech or shir or class or lecture, and then you missed one prelude or one introduction or one illustration, and then there's just a certain dimension that you can't get. So there it's just in terms of information, here it's in terms of experience, that the soul will be lacking that nimshal. Okay, so really the whole Torah, every element of Torah is a mashal, and it takes you to another level, which can then take you to another level, and you strip, you literally, you strip, you flay the layers after layers, deeper and deeper. V'hinei Zachu Yisrael, we're holding at the paragraph that starts V'hinei, which is on page 196, column 2. V'hinei, let's now understand. Yisrael, let me just give a brief intro so we should understand what he's getting to. He's explaining that Torah was Mashal HaKadmoini, through Chachmas HaTorah, on all of its layers, one can then experience something even deeper than that, which is Kadmoinoi Shel Olam, Hashem himself. And essentially, this was the experience of Matan Torah. What was Matan Torah? Matan Torah was not just an information session. In other words, Hashem said, let me give you information. Here are the 10 mitzvahs, and then I'll give you all of the halachas and all the information. In fact, it says that the Avis observed the whole Torah before it was given, which would mean that Matan Torah essentially was superfluous. The whole experience of Matan Torah, because they knew it. The Gemara says in Yuma there was a yeshiva even in Egypt. There was always a yeshiva with the Avis, with the Shvatim, and so forth. So the concept of Torah and even mitzvahs existed before. What happened by Matan Torah is there was the Gilui of Kadmoinoi Shel Olam. In other words, they experienced the Shechina, they experienced Hashem in the Torah. And this was one of the Chidushim of Ma'amad Har Sinai, because it's true that Torah is Mashal HaKadmoini and it gives you access to Hashem himself, but a person could learn Torah and not experience the Dveikus in the king. It doesn't take away the fact that he's hugging the king, but he doesn't even experience that he's here. So the Torah was given in a way that you could separate Torah from Hashem. The Torah just becomes an intellectual exercise. You don't feel the nimshal. You don't get the nimshal of Torah. You just don't get the energy of Torah. And certainly not the source of it, the Kadmoinu Shel Olam. That's what's possible. By Matan Torah, that didn't exist. That separation was not possible because it was Hashem. Anoichi is anon nafshi ksavis yahavis. My soul wasn't Torah. In order for a person to be able to experience that, the first step is always an openness, a humility. To be able not to feel like a master of Torah, but really to become an open student to Torah. That's a sense of bittul, of humility, allows a person to experience that. So he says, V'hinei, Yisrael zachol matan Torah de Yisrael de Galus Mitzrayim b'chaymer b'levein. The Jews experience Matan Torah through the pain of Galus Mitzrayim. The chaymer is the mortar, the leveinim is the bricks. In other words, that experience in Mitzrayim opened them up to the opportunity to experience Matan Torah. V'igdimu nasa l'nishma ki ef shali is gilui v'hamshach me'erin seif baruch hu ala b'makom sheyesh b'chinas bittul dafka. There's no way for a person to be able to be open to the flow of infinity of God's energy only in a place where there is bittul, a place where there is real humbleness, a place where the person opens themselves up and is transparent. Because if I remain in my protective gear, my defense mechanisms, so then all I can experience is that which relates to my own ego. I'm not open to something that's above me, that's transcendent. I mean, even in human conversation, if somebody criticizes you, I mean constructively, I don't mean somebody who's just trying to embarrass or put you down, but somebody who criticizes, right? So very often what happens, we just develop a defense mechanism and we start thinking how bad that person is. You're just this, what am I doing? Basically, I can't even listen to what you're saying because I'm so busy protecting myself. So what would the concept of bittul mean? The concept of bittul would mean that a person actually is so confident that they would not melt through criticism. The criticism will not destroy them because their sense of identity is not based on delusional perfection. If my sense of identity is based on delusional perfection, and you come to me and you say, you really, so now you're trying to bust the balloon. You're putting a needle into the balloon. I'm going to fight back because you're taking all the air out of me. But what if a person's identity is rooted in a deeper confidence, in a much deeper confidence which does not get created through compliments and does not get destroyed through criticism? Validation doesn't create it, and criticism doesn't destroy it. So here the person is actually open to something that is beyond themselves, including to correct, because they can actually listen to criticism and experience being present in humility and it's not called death. It's a very interesting exercise. For many of us it's called death. It's like, I have to reject you mentally. I have to reject what my wife said, or what my friend said, or what my child said, or what this one said, especially if my mother said it, because if I accept it, if I absorb it, it's almost like... So you become the evil nutcase, and I'm the normal one, and then we move on in life. So some people explode, some people implode, but it's the same concept. They cannot be present with it. Why? Because essentially their identity is very shallow. It's based on a beautiful, perfect bubble, and if you tamper with it, it's not going to work. So I'm going to run away or I'm going to crush you, right? The t-shirt, I'm very easy to get along with once you learn to worship me. Then it's going to work. What does bittul really mean? Bittul really means a humility which allows for a very deep confidence, and a confidence that allows for a very deep humility, in which a person's identity is not based on delusional perfection. A person's identity is essential, and that includes the ability of growth and make mistakes and accountability, not the need for perfection. And then I actually can cherish it, and I could be present in it, because there's an openness. There's a complete openness in it. Now this bittul exists on many, many different layers and many, many different levels. He says Mitzrayim created a tremendous openness in the Jewish people, to the point that they can actually experience infinity. They can experience God's voice. They can experience God's presence, because there will never be a gilui of Orein Sof ela b'makom sheyesh bittul dafka. In a place of arrogance, of trying to control everything, you could never experience that which comes above, that which is higher than your parameters. You're not even open to that. Just like some people can't hear another opinion, they just can't. So even if you could hear another opinion, some people are just not capable of opening themselves up to an experience of infinity. Now God, we don't know much about God. All we know about God is that He's not what we think He is. That's the most we could say about Hashem, and it's actually the best thing we could say. What He is, I don't know, but what He for sure is not what you think He is, and not what you make Him to be. Not what you make Him to be. So how do I even have a relationship with that? There's only one way: complete openness. This is complete bittul. Complete openness to that experience, which I have to allow to shock me, to I have to say this mundane joke, lahavdil, that I heard from a lecture the other day. Yogi Berra just died a few months ago, so he once asked his wife, his wife once asked him, she said, Yogi, where do you want me to bury you? He says, what's the problem? She says, well, here's the problem. You were born in New Jersey, you live in Missouri, and you played for New York. So where should I bury you? So he said, surprise me. So the point is, you have to be able to surprise yourself. And the ability to surprise yourself is an openness, that you could be wowed by something transcendent. But if you turn God into an image and you just put Him in a box, when you're 12 years old, and that's who He is, and that's what you worship, and that's what you do, you're not open really to any divine experience, because it's basically an image. You created your own image. Your image may be a little more abstract than other images, but it's essentially an image. It's a boxed image. This is what He is, and this is what I worship. The Sfas Emes says there was the Yid HaKadosh. The Yid HaKadosh was one of the great Polish Rebbes in Poland. His student was Reb Simcha Binim of Pshischa. So his name was Rabbi Rabinowitz. They called him the Yid HaKadosh. Some says why they call him the Yid HaKadosh, the holy. Every Jew is a holy Jew. He says because every day for him, his avodah every day was he reinvented himself like from a non-Jew to a Jew every single day. In other words, he was never worshiping the God from yesterday. The fact that I was a Jew yesterday, that was yesterday. Every day he became a new Jew. He reinvented himself completely. That's called a relationship. A relationship is, the Jacobson says that marriage in halacha is a pu'ula nimsheches. Kiddushin can't happen once. He says it has to be ongoing. In other words, status quo is divorce. That's status quo. You want to be married? Every moment you have to be married. You cannot. A football is not in the air. You want the football to stay in the air? You throw it, it falls, you throw it again. You have to recreate the experience because it's not natural. Gravity pulls it down. The laws of gravity say a man and a woman are supposed to be separated. If you don't believe me, you can go to New York, you can go to Los Angeles, you can ask people. That's the fact. Kiddushin is anti-status quo. In other words, it's a chiddush. Two opposites becoming one. 1 + 1 = 2. Marriage says 1 + 1 = 1. That doesn't make sense. So you have to recreate that miracle every moment. So we do Kiddushin once. He says in halacha, Kiddushin is a pu'ula nimsheches. It's a one act, but it's really, the halacha continues it. It's like recreation. That's what he tainas. In halacha, he brings his rayas from Gemara. So they say a maisa that Reb Chaim Brisker, it's a maisa they say, once met him. They were chavrusas as children, and then their paths were somewhat similar but also very divergent. Yeah, the Brisker derech different than the Rakachov's derech. They say Reb Chaim Brisker met him and he heard this yisod and he says, Mazel Tov. He says, for what? He says, for the chasana. He says, which chasana? He says, for your wedding. He says, he's married. He says, well, you say that you keep on getting married every moment, so you just got married. You say Mazel Tov. He says, no. The Mazel Tov that you told me at the wedding is also nimshach, so it's fine. You got him back.
That's why I say the creases. That's why a get has to be creases. There can't be any strings attached because the creases has to go. Otherwise, the condition is
So in other words, there's a relationship means you're constantly creating it. So a relationship with Hashem is also, it's a constant thing. It's not, I have a relationship. What do you mean you have a relationship with him? Were you open to the relationship? So by Mitzrayim, there was a tremendous sense of humility, of bittul, that allowed this to happen. So this was the concept of Nasa l'nishma. It says they said we'll do before nishma. What does this mean? It's not just they said we'll do. This was the concept that their whole ratzon, they said, I don't have my own ratzon. Whatever you want, that's my will. It's not like I'll agree to do what you want. It's much deeper than that. It's not I'll agree to do what you want. It's that my will is, your will is my will. It's not, you'll tell me to do it, I'll do it even if I don't understand it. You know why? I think you're great, I trust you, whatever. You probably have my good, you probably care for me, so I'll do it. It's that Nasa v'nishma, the idea here is, what you want, that is my will. And my will is your will. That's a much deeper level of a relationship. Avodas Hashem, the real Eved, it's not my master wants this and I'm not in the mood, but I'll do it anyway because I have no choice. It's the person, what your opinion is, that is my opinion. My ratzon l'chatchila is your ratzon. That is your ratzon. He's talking obviously an Eved who's dedicated on that level, yeah. Everybody learns Nasa v'nishma. They said Nasa before Nishma. He said, no, if you want Nishma, you need Nasa. In order to be able to hear, to open yourself up to God's message, you really have to be able to go out of your own obsessions, of your own ritzonos. In order for there to be Nishma, there had to be a Nasa. You wouldn't be able to hear without that Nasa.
How does Nasa mean bittul? How does Nasa mean bittul?
Well, what he means by Nasa is that the Jewish people agreed upon themselves to do whatever he's going to tell them, regardless what he's going to tell them, even before they knew what he's going to tell them, because basically what they were saying is that my ratzon, right? My ratzon is what you want. That is my will. That is my will. I'm comfortable with that will. My ratzon is what you want. So therefore, what do you don't have to tell me what you're going to tell me. If this is what you want, this is what I want. That's Nasa. Once that can happen, then there could be a nishma. Then they could be open to the gilui of Ein Sof Baruch. How does a person reach this? How does a person even begin such a process? When they left Mitzrayim, they were in a state of primitiveness. How does a person even have such a relationship? He says, this is the idea that he took the mountain, the Gemara says in Shabbos, and he turned it over he put it on their head like an overturned vat. A gigas is like a big barrel, you overturn it. And he put this mountain and he says, this is it. If not, so how does everybody learn it? Basically, it's like you take your kala, you put her under an elevator, and you say, okay, I'm in love with you, I want to marry you. If you say yes, great. And if not, the elevator shaft will come right down. Verstehst du that the relationship will not be. So that's how we understand the Gemara. Hashem took a mountain and he said, if you take it, good. If not, you'll be buried under this mountain. Says the Balatanya, it's a very strange thing to do if you want to marry somebody. Yep. If you want a good relationship. So he says, what's the Kafalem HaKegigis? Shobchines v'yeminoi techapkeni. The Kafalem HaKegigis was actually a teddy bear hug. It was a yeminoi techapkeni. You say there's other ways of hugging than putting a mountain over your head. We'll see in a moment. His right arm embracing me. Dahainu his galus ha'avel yoinim el maila al Yisrael. He revealed his infinite love to the Jew. Kamashakasav ahafti eschem amar Hashem. And when you feel his love, ha'avezu techapkeni lekneses solom hakefes oisim mikol tzad. Real explosive love embraces you and engulfs you from every side to the point you can't get out of it. Like afilu b'chinas acharayim, even your back. When I hug you, when I kiss you, I don't let you leave me. I force you to look me face in the face. There's different ways of expressing love. I could kiss you, so I kiss you on the face. I can look at you, I could say I love you, I can touch you, I can give you something. But then there's a hug. What's the uniqueness of a hug? A hug is I don't let you leave. A hug is I trap you in my love. And which part of you do I hug? Your back. All other expressions of love is to the face. You don't kiss somebody in the back. I mean, it's not the usual thing you do. Here, give me your neck, give me your back. You don't do that. Give me your cheek. You don't look at somebody in their back. Here, turn around, let me look at you. You don't give a gift. You say, turn around, I got to give. You look at somebody in the face. That's the place of their personality, their eyes, their face, their gestures. Where do you do chibuk? The hug is in the back. What does this mean? This means that it's unconditional. It's unconditional. Even your back, in other words, even your lowest space is part of me, and I'm not going to leave go. I can't leave go. What was the Kafalei Markegigas? Kafalei Markegigas months, they were trapped in the relationship. How they were trapped in the relationship? He showed them so much love, you can't resist it. How could you resist it? Theoretically you could, but practically they were forced into the relationship in the sense, what type of forced? Forced was there was so much love that got revealed, they had no way of saying no. There was no way, how could you? It was too sweet, you got to be crazy. It's too good, it's too beautiful, it's too loving for me to reject you. Just impossible. That's what happened to Kafalei Markegigas. Yeah.
The question, how does that stem with the concept that I forced you so that I could never leave the relationship, I could never make again?
What I said on Shabbos?
Yeah. They stem though.
I think it's the same thing. Because in Halacha L'Poy, it's again, that's a mashal for a nimshal. In the mashal, he's just a ma'anes, he's a lowlife. In the nimshal, it's the idea that Hashem wanted to demonstrate that there's something here that will never be separated. It's unconditional.
He didn't want to give us the opportunity to get
Yeah, don't think you can get out of it because I can't get out of
He loves
it.
us so much. He wanted to set it back.
We can get
It would be impossible for him to leave us. We would
Right.
say,
In other words, it's a mashal. The sense is the relationship is coming from a place that's unalterable. It's not. There's nothing that can destroy it. Often I love you, but there's conditions. You know, if you smack me in the face enough times, it's like goodbye. Have a wonderful life somewhere else. But is it possible there's a relationship that there's nothing you can do that can destroy the love? That's true with Hashem. Every relationship, you can destroy it ultimately. Even your parents, you know, if you're bad enough, at some point they may say, maybe not internally, but at some point they may, they'll make boundaries. But Hashem is like, there's nothing you can do that will destroy the relationship. Nothing. It's always connected.
So the other way, it doesn't work though. I wanted to ask on Shabbos, when it's not Yisrael, they're not forced to stay in that. They could get out of it.
Yeah, so we'll soon see the Chiddush of Purim.
You could never leave. You could never.
We'll soon see the Chiddush of Purim. This is all Matan Torah.
Yeah.
That there was such an explosion of love to the point that the Jew was trapped in it. Not trapped in it because of negativity. Trapped in it because of positivity. I could not say no. When they saw this of God, they just could not say no. It was too beautiful. It was too majestic. It was too inviting to say no. I could be on the best diet of the world, on the best diet, but then I come to a certain simcha, and you just can't say no. Could you say no theoretically? Yeah. Was I forced to eat it? People say I was forced to eat it. You weren't really forced to eat it, but you were forced to eat it. Okay. Now I know that's a very profane example that hopefully doesn't apply to any of us around this table, since everybody looks so good. But you understand the concept. In other words, were you forced? Yeah, you were forced in the sense that it was just too good. It was too good.
So that's Modol Rabel Rice.
1 second. So what do we say? Kafalei Markegigis is a mashal. It's a mashal. It's representing a certain idea. We here, he put a mountain over us and he forced us. So we immediately associate it with the one who smacked us at a certain point, pulled us by the ear and threw us out for 3 weeks. We associate that way. It's really a mashal for a very deep type of relationship in which you're completely embraced to the point I say you're forced. What does it mean you're forced? You're forced means that it's just so powerful, there's no way you could resist it. That's what happened by Matan Torah. Okay, we'll continue next time. In this Maamar, Chayav Einish Lebesumi B'Puri Adal Yada of the Balatanya, the Alter Rebbe in Torah, we learned last time, he discussed the meaning of the Gemara, Kaf Aleim Har Kegigis. You remember Hashem took the mountain and placed it over the Jewish people's heads like an overturned gigis. A gigis is a vat. A fas. You take a fas, a gigis, a vat, you turn it over, and so to speak, the mountain was like this huge barrel over their heads. If you accept the Torah, good. What does this really mean? So he explained that after a long explanation of what Torah is, which we learned about Mashal HaKadmoni, what Torah is, all the layers of Torah, deeper and deeper, and the ultimate Torah is a metaphor, a parable which allows you to experience the Kadmon, Hashem himself. So he says for Matan Torah to happen, it had to go through the whole experience of Yetzias Mitzrayim, which created a tremendous state of bittul. What is the bittul? The Shibud Mitzrayim, yeah. In order to be able to absorb this level, this experience of the divine, there was a tremendous bittul, and real bittul is that the person completely dedicates their will. It's not just that I'll do what you want. That's one level. It's that l'chatchila, my will is your will. It's not that I'm nullifying myself to you. I'm subjugating myself to you. I'm like a slave, I despise you, but I have no choice. No, your will is my will. I'm one with you. My whole will I give over to you. He says, it's not that I have a will, but you're stronger, you're more powerful, I'm afraid, I'm overwhelmed. That's another level. Here you're talking about a real state of bittul. So it's fascinating. Usually we type bittul means you're subservient, you're, so to speak, enslaved. Here it means your will is my will. In other words, complete alignment. He says that's what a real eved. The real eved, when we hear slavery, of course, what we hear is bigotry, and for good reason, because the way slaves were treated. Take Eliezer, it was Eved Avram. He says, Eved Avram Anoichi. You'll ask Eliezer, so you're living an abused life? Eliezer would say, no, I lived a great life, but when I recognized who Avram was, it's the biggest thing to be able to become part of Avram. Eved Avram Anoichi. So this was the concept of Nasa. Nasa before Nishma, again, it's not Nasa before Nishma because Nasa has to come before Nishma. He says once there was Nasa, there could be even Nishma. They couldn't be sensitive to hear the divine if there was no alignment on the level of Nasa. How do they experience this? So he says this came from a tremendous love. This level of aligning your will with my will can only come if there's a tremendous amount of love. It just could never come out of plain fear. Fear can cause you to suppress yourself. It can cause you to force yourself. It can cause you to align your will. Kafaleim harkegigis means there was such love, it's like hugging somebody. You hug somebody, you won't let them go. So yeah, you're forced into the relationship. So in the hug, I'm holding you by force. Here it means the love is so powerful, you can't resist me. It's just too good. It's too delicious. You say, I tried to resist this. I can't. It was too good. It's too delicious. So am I forced into it? Yeah. I'm forced into it in the sense, not forced that I'm doing something against my will, but it's just so geschmack, it was so powerful. That's what he's saying. Dahainu shayidei avel yoynazu nisoyri gamkin ave b'neshamas Yisrael. Ad shebo l'mayla madrega sheikdimu nas. They saw so much love. It evoked in them a tremendous love, to the point that they said nasa. This is what the pasuk says. You see where it is? Kamayim aponim leponim. The face that you show to the water shows back to you like a mirror. The heart that you show to a man, he will show back to you. If I love you, you're going to love me. If I despise you, you'll despise me. If I make a sour face into the mirror, that's the face the mirror will make back. So the pasuk, Shlomo Melech says in Mishlei, the heart is like a mirror. Sometimes, it says in Tanya, sometimes there's a person, you just like them, you don't know why. You ever have this mitzvah? It's not like you spent years with them. You just like something about them. And very often the reason is because they like you. They love you, so therefore it's not even a choice. It's like a trigger effect. If I love somebody, he doesn't have a choice. He may hate me, but he's going to have to love me. If you really love somebody, be'emes, it's pushing a mirror. The mirror doesn't have a choice. If I'm going to show a smiling face to the mirror is going to have to smile, even if the mirror is in a depressed mood. It doesn't help. You say this guy is depressed. If you really, we're not talking if you fake it. If you really love somebody, leva adam ela adam is just like water. It's not a bchira. It's almost like a chemical, instinctive reaction. That's what he says in Tanya in chapter 46. It's like mukhrach. Almost he has no choice. Sometimes it may take a little longer to reveal if he has a lot of toxicity to work through. But the point is, in other words, if you really hate yourself, so then you don't even know how to love. But the point is, you're mukhrach. I really love you, you're going to love me back. It's almost impossible not. Of course, there's exceptions, but yeah.
Did the Rebbe say, why is the heart in the left?
Yeah. So he says like this, beautiful touch. Pirush, Leva Adam Ha'elyin. The Leva Adam is two men, not only two people. The Adam Ha'elyin, who Mashakasav Ad Musa Kisid Mus Kamare Adam. Yecheskel says on the Kisei HaKavod, he saw an image of a man that was like Hashem. Shehu B'chines Ramach Mitzvesesei, the inner Ramach Yevorim the Malka, V'shasa Loisesei, V'shasa Gidin. It says in Zohar, there's 248 mitzvahs are like Hashem's limbs. And the 365 loises says like Hashem's sinews. So Adam Ma'alyin, so to speak, the mitzvahs represents Hashem's structure, spiritual structure. El ha'adam, so it says, Kain leva adam al adam, hainu b'chines adam, shebebri yitzira asiyah k'mashakasav u'demus pnei and pnei adam. There's two Adams. There's Adam Ma'alyin, and then there's the Adam down here in the lower worlds. Hinehu kamayim haponim leponim, the hainu, shayidei his galus oira ava mil maila b'b'chines ha'hafti yeschem, hayidei zim is oira gam ken ava mil mata l'maila, v'uach lo'as knesses Yisrael b'klois ha'nefesh, I love you, Baruch. There was such an explosion of love. Leiv ha'adam el ha'adam, so therefore it was ma'orid, a tremendous avin, neshamas Yisrael, that their whole soul wanted to go up to him. V'lechein nikrayim knesses Yisrael kala. That's why the Jewish people are called a kala, a bride. Al shem klois ha'nefesh. The word kala comes from the word klois ha'nefesh. The soul goes out, it yearns, it gate ois to its source. Kamashakasav, the pasuk says, achaisi kala. The pasuk says in Shirah Shirim, my sisters, a kala matoiv udoidecha miyayin, your love is much better than wine. It says in Shirah Shirim, this is the klois ha'nefesh. This is the pshat that every dibur by Matan Torah, their souls flew out. What does it mean? But Pashtus, you say they were terrified. There was like an earthquake and a volcano and the shofar blowing. You're terrified. You die from fear. He says that's not the pshat. The pshat is shaydei hadibur v'hagilim al ma'ila parcha nishmasan b'bchinas bitul lo'erin soif baruch. Parcha nishmasan is really a metaphor. What it means is their soul became his soul. Parcha nishmasan, there was no any more ego resistance There's you, there's me, I'm more powerful than you, I'm going to show you who's the boss. And you're terrifying me, therefore I lose myself. Parcha Nishmasan means the complete alignment, complete oneness. There was no any more self-contained ego separate from you. The Ava was so deep that they felt, this is me, this is who I am. So their neshama, independently, an independent, separate soul, so to speak, flew out where they completely become davuk. That's why Chazal say he turned over a mountain on them. What's a mountain? He says har ubchinas avel yoinish shenikra har. The concept of har is, the Gemara says that Avram called the place a mountain, Har Miriah. Avram is Ava. The har represents the Ava El Yoina, the love of Hashem. Why? He says kigigis, it's like a vat. Shobchinas davar hamakiv schor kol almin shaidezen isor behem Ava. The mountain, the vat, surrounds you. It surrounds you completely, and this is what triggered the love. In other words, this is the gigis. It's like a chibuk. V'yemino techapkeni. When you hug somebody, so you create like a circle around them, like a mountain. You create something that surrounds them around and around, and therefore there's no part of them that goes out of it because their whole self is included in it. Usually in a relationship, part of me is happy about it or not, and part of me resists it, right? If you're forcing me to do something and I need to do it for whatever reason, so part of me says yeah, and part of me says no, just begrudgingly. It's like you tell your teenager, this is not how you sit at the table, right? So he goes away, he may do it, but there's a sour face which basically is telling you, part of me is not doing it. Part of me is not doing it. Part of me is telling you, I'm not part of your game. I'm not part of your show. Right? So, what's Kafaleim Harkegigis? The mountain is over you. There's no going anywhere. It surrounds you from all sides. In other words, there's no part of you that's out of the relationship. Because your whole identity embraces it. It's not I have one will, but you're bigger than me, you're stronger than me, you're more muscular than me, so what should I do? My will is your will is my will. That's the idea of Kafaleim Harkegigis. So when you say forced, what does forced mean? We learn forced means you don't want to do it, you're forced. Balatanya's Taichin Kafa means there was such an intense explosion of love, there was no way they could say no. It was too beautiful. It was too powerful to say, well, I'm giving you this life, are you going to tell me no? Bismashuga? You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. Somebody gives you an offer, right? You have a job, you're making $100,000 a year, $70,000 a year, yeah, before taxes. Before taxes. And you have to pay your house. And somebody offers you a job, he says, you come. So for starters, it's $300,000 a year after taxes. Plus you have a house, plus you have a car, plus you have this, plus you have this, plus you have this, plus you have this. So you come home to your wife and you say, we have no choice. We're taking it. Why don't you have a choice? Well, freedom, democracy. I'm an independent person. I don't surrender for pressure. Shaita. This is the pressure you want to embrace. If this is called pressure, what's called freedom, right? So somebody says, I'm free. What are you free? You're free to make right choices. If you're free to make stupid choices, so then you're an idiot. You're not free. You know what I mean? A person says, I'm a free person, so I'm free, so I'm going to eat poison. You're free to make... Here you see something that's so powerful, so you're free to make this choice, and you really have no choice. You have no choice. That's Kafaleim Harkegigas. Elikus was so geschmack. It was so powerful. It was so real that by Matan Torah, the bittul came natural. It came natural. They said Nasa, of course Nasa. And b'meila there could be Nishma, because they were completely one. If so, we have a big question. The Gemara says that basically it means Mikan Meidar Rabbaloi Rais, that by Matan Torah was all forced. He says, this is what it means. La'ainu. She's oirezu belibim lekabbalah satayra b'bchinas mesiris nefesh ubitlat sheikdimu nasa l'nishma. This oirezu v'kabbalah satayra with mesiris nefesh, to the point that ikdimu nasa l'nishma loy hoyozem mitzidam b'bchira v'ratzin Hashem me'atzmam levad. It didn't come from their own initiative, with their own bchira, elashai, they had gilui milmaila. The bchinas ahafti eschem ayidei zedafkin esayra b'meratzin v'ahav. It doesn't mean they were forced literally. If it means they were forced literally, then he asked the question, by Haman they weren't forced. There was a tremendous gzeira. That's what's ma'oida them. That's not an oinus. The mountain is an oinus, and Haman is not an oinus. It's the same oinus. The pshat is the parchen shmasan, the bittul didn't happen because of their own toil. The ahafti eschem amar Hashem, the display of love, brought it out in them. What happens by Achashverosh? They re-accept Torah. He says, what's pshat? Shahaya mesiris nefesh b'chal Yisrael me'atzmam shaloya deis eres mamayla betchila derech b'chinas v'yimini techapkeni. When you say they re-accepted Torah, it means they experienced the same state of bittul that you need for Kabbalah Satorah. Kabbalah Satorah is mashal hakadmaini. It's the revelation of the Ein Sof. In order to experience the Ein Sof, you have to be able to go outside of yourself and transcend it. The bittul then happened because of the Gili Malmaila. The bittul by Achashverosh, there was no Isairis. Why? The Ha'ayahaz Haya P'chines Hester Ponim. Then there was a matzav of concealment. Al derech, like the famous pasuk in Kaihelis, there's a time for everything. So he says, Eis le'rachik mechavik. There's a time that the hug is distant. Sometimes he says Eis lechabik. Sometimes it's a time to hug, and sometimes it's a time le'rachik. It's a time to distance yourself. You can't be overprotective. He says a time to speak, there's a time to be quiet, a time to fight, there's a time for peace. He goes through 28 periods, a time for this, a time for this, in Koheles. So he says, by Matan Torah is Yemini Techapkeni. By Purim, it was a time of distance. Kamaimir Azal, the Gemara says in Chulin, Esther min ha-Torah minayin, the Ksiv anoichi, haster, aster, ponai bayoimahu. I concealed my face that day. V'im kein hoya b'chinas esarus, d'lasatem etzadatzma. This means that what happened then was this Eiris came completely from them. That's pshat, they re-accepted it with Ratzon Gomor, because by Matan Torah was Kafaleim Harke Gigis, there was a tremendous gili from above, so of course they couldn't resist it. How could you? By the time of Achashverosh, there was concealment. Hanoichi aster aster. Nobody split the sea, there were no 10 makkahs, there was no Matan Torah, there was no manna falling from heaven, there was no well of Miriam. It was a time of absolute concealment. Everything was happening according to nature. There was nothing going on heavenly, supernatural. They didn't see an explosion of a hafti eschem amar Hashem fakert. So the relationship then came completely from within. It was absolutely genuine and authentic, because even the first one is takamoidedik. But why is it coming? It's coming because you're showing me so much. Here they were completely on their own. This means that the relationship was in their kishkas. It was deep in their bones. Even in a time of concealment, they said, I'm not going to detach. I'm one with you. I'm part of you. This was the Chiddush of Purim over Matan Torah. Well, Biyar go to a Biyar Inyan. You see a lot of places there's parentheses, which are essentially footnotes here not, but saying other places there's parentheses which are footnotes of the Tzemach Tzedek. But now he continues. To explain this more, Yuvan al pi masha kasov, ish Yehudi haya b'shushna birush me Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi ben Kish ish Yemini. That's how the Megillah describes it. The Tzarech Lahav, and you have to understand the Yemini pirusha shu meshevet ben Yamin ki the Pirush Rashi. Rashi says Yemini means he comes from Ben Yamin because Ben Yamin was called Ben Yamin. Yemini is the man of Yemin, the right man, which is Binyamin. He came from Binyamin. V'im kain lama kari la Yehudi du al shem shevet Yehuda. So why do you call him Ish Yehudi? The word Yehudi is, he comes from the tribe of Yehuda. We're called Yehudim because most Jews today come either from Yehuda or actually Binyamin, because most of the 10 Shvatim were exiled, so the only ones who remained were Yehuda and Binyamin. Now, it could be you come from the other Shvatim, because they didn't all disappear, the majority of them disappeared, but there were still Jews from all the Shvatim. But most Jews come from Yehuda, so we're called Yehudim. By Mordechai, it's called Ish Yehudi, and then a second later you say, Ushmai Mordechai ben Shimi ben Kish, Ish Yemini. This is the question. The Gemara asks this question why he's called Yehudi. Gemara says maybe one is his mother's side, one is his father's side, right? From his father's side he was from Binyamin, his mother's side was from Yehuda. But the question is the pasuk Ish Yehudi and then Yemini. That's the question. Gam tzarech lahavin. The begzeras hama nemer lahashmid larigol abed es kol Yehudim. V'adei b'sheva ve'esrim me'em medina malchus Achashverosh hayu gam kol hashvatim Ephraim u'Menashe. Beautiful question. The first time in Tanakh Jews are called Yehudim is, you know where? Which book? Huh? You don't know? Anybody knows? Megillas Esther. Till Megillas Esther, we're called Bnei Yisrael. Bnei Yisrael. Never Yehudim. Why? We're not all Yehuda. It's like discrimination, right? You'll call Klal Yisrael Muncie Jews. It's Jews in Muncie. There's Jews in other places. Yehuda. All Jews are Yehuda. There's 12 Shvatim. The first time we're called Yehudim, that's our name is in the Megillah. Lahashmid v'la'alam eskola Yehudim. Vrekte balatanya. Mail of the Gzeira was on Yehuda. I got it, but the Gzeira was on all Jews. There were Jews from Ephraim, there were Jews from Menashe, there were Jews from Binyamin, there were Jews from Yehuda. Yeah. Why are they all called Yehudim? It seems very, very strange. Very interesting question. Emes. It was after the Golus of Aseres HaShvatim, but as I said before, the Golus of HaShvatim didn't exile every single Jew, that any Jew outside of Yehuda. First of all, there was a whole Shevet Binyamin that was in exile, because Yehuda and Binyamin lived in the territory where they weren't exiled. The other 10, there was a split by the Jewish people. There was the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. The northern kingdom was exiled. That was 10 Shvatim. The southern kingdom, Yehuda and Binyamin, they were exiled. But there were Jews living there. There was always mixed. Not every Jew disappeared. So by Achashverosh, you had all types of Jews. So why? What do you gain by pointing out Dafke Yehudim? First of all, the whole Binyamin you exclude. The whole Binyamin. And there were all of them, or many of them. And even other Jews. That's his question. Ella shenikru kulam Yehudim. The reason they're called Yehudim is Yehudim here takes on another meaning. The word Yehuda represents something. The word Yehuda includes two meanings. First of all, gratitude, thanks. Leah had a fourth son, and she says, now I'm going to thank Hashem. Oides Hashem. And she names him Yehuda. Like we say, Moidim Anachnu Lach, or we say, Todah Rabbah. Todah is thank you, Yehuda, Hoida, Toiv Lahoida is Hashem. It's good to be thankful. That's number one. The second idea of Yehuda is to be Moida. Like you'll say, Moida b'miktas. I'm Moida to you. It's not I'm thankful to you. I concede, I submit. The Gemara will say, Moidim Chachamim l'Reb Meir, Moida b'miktas Chayav Shvur, right? I acquiesce. Or you'll say, Hoide v'loi bush. He was moide, he wasn't embarrassed. It's like, you'll be moide, you made a mistake. It's a vulnerable act. You ask forgiveness and so forth. When we say moide manachnu lach, we mean thank you, like moide ani lefanecha, but it also means the bittul of hoidah, of submit. The ability of the Jew is to be a Yehudi, that his self, his identity becomes aligned with Hashem's identity. That's Yehuda. V'lachei nikra Mordechai ish Yehudi. Pirush sar Yehudim, kimay ish harabayis. We have in Chazal, ish harabayis means the one who was in charge on the harabayis. Ki hu oya makar habitl. Mordechai was ish Yehudi. He was the master of Yehudi. He personified it. He was like the sar, the source of bitl. He represented it. Kamaimer Azal, the Gemara says, Mordechai min ha-Torah minayin. What's the source of Mordechai in Torah? And the Gemara answers, Esther we just learned, Hanoichi Esther, the Ksiv mar d'roir u'metargaminon mira dachya. When they made the Shemen HaMishcha, they made the oil to anoint the Kohen Gadol and the king, so there were a lot of spices put into it, different spices. One of them was called moir, musk. We'll soon see what that is. The Targum says, Mira Dachya. Mordechai is Mira Dachya, Mordechai. That's the source of Mordechai in Torah, Mar D'roir. It's a very strange question, a very strange answer. We'll see in a minute. It's not bitter, but it's a certain herb or animal, and this was put in, was one of the ingredients that was used for the oil that was then anointed. It anointed the kings and the Mizbeach and the Mishkan, the whole Mishkan. So first of all, what's the question? Where's Mordechai in Torah? Mordechai didn't live during the time of Torah. He lived later. And Meir Dachi, I mean, seems like a strange shidduch. So he says, Meir Zeladas Rambam, Ushar Mefarshim, who Moishek, musk. It's called musk. Haniska b'Gemara Peter Ketzad Mevarche. What is this? Shehudam Chaya Yadua. It's the blood of an animal called Yadua. It's basically a certain type of wild deer. Shenikrash b'chaytet b'chatoitres shabetzavara v'nasa busam hanikra mar. The blood in her neck gets congealed, and it turns into musk, which is a delicious fragrance. So essentially, her blood gets congealed in her neck in a certain place. We call it deer musk. It's very, very expensive. It has a tremendous fragrance. Today, they do it artificially. But the original from this animal from this animal, a musk deer, or deer, I think it's called a musk deer, and they take the musk from it, that's the murder, Rambam says. What does this mean? In Midas it represents transformation. Blood represents the passionate cravings of a person. Red, blood, passion, vitality. This blood becomes a fragrance. It's when you transform the animal cravings from the pleasures of this world, that your pleasure becomes Hashem. This is the musk. He says, which explains the big machlaikas about this musk. Rabbeinu Yoina says you're allowed to eat it, and that's why it was used. Others say it's a treifa animal. You can't eat it. You can use it for its smell, but not the thing itself you can't eat. That it actually becomes heter. Al pichsidis, what's their argument? Toli be'inyan haniska be'gemara be'yuma. Gavi tshuva im zdoines nasur kishgagas oikezachias. Gemara discusses, if when you do tshuva, the sins become like mistakes, or the sins become like mitzvahs. Kishneim inyan echad. Both represent that the sins go away. Shumashara nepech l'toiv. The ra gets transformed. Sharei chaya yadua anal hu yidoini hanisker b'toyre b'parsha shoftim. Shul meklipas atmeis k'meshakasav v'shoyel oivi yidoini v'doyer shalamesa. This animal is a non-kosher animal. It's called the yidoini. They would do black magic with it. To take this animal's blood and eat it, the fragrance. It's like the Ra becomes mamash tov, the Aveira becomes a mitzvah. Because the Baal Tshuva accomplishes what the Tzaddik can't accomplish, that the sins should become mitzvahs. If you do tshuva not with so much love, they become like mistakes. It's not like the Averis become good. They're just treated like inadvertent mistakes. That's why there's a second shit in Paiskim, that it's a good smell, but it's still not mutter ba'achila. To say that it was mamish went through a transformation, in other words, there's two levels of transformation. One is the negativity gets discarded. The person now has a beautiful fragrance. To say that it's mutter to eat, meaning that which was treif becomes mutter to eat. This is a whole other level of transformation. So those are the two shittas in Meir and Halacha really represent two shittas in transformation. As we're going to see, Mordechai represents that, Mar Droid, and we'll see these two views, how they're experienced in the life of Mordechai. We'll continue Be'ez Hashem tomorrow.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.